How do you go from the fashion industry to real estate to note investor? Stay tuned. Welcome to this week's edition of NoteSchool TV, where every week, at 11:05 Central Time on Wednesday, we go live with the greatest guests and the most amazing content. And today is certainly no different. And we'll get to our guest here in just a minute. But before we do some things for me here. Number one, make sure and like this episode. Boom, hit the like button. If you haven't already subscribed to our NoteSchool TV channel, make sure and go ahead and do that. And number three, make sure and hit that bell notification, boom, so that you will be notified when every Wednesday at 11:05 Central Time, right before we go live. Also, keep your comments, keep your questions coming. Eddie and I love to see that. It's great feedback for us, so make sure and do that. And to learn more about NoteSchool, simply go to noteschool.com/TV and find out what we can do for you. So with that, I am going to, I get to introduce our founder of NoteSchool, Chief Visionary Officer, and all-around good guy, my friend, Mr. Eddie Speed.
Hello, Joe. How are you?
I'm good. Good morning. And it's a beautiful day here in South Florida, and I'm assuming it's the same in Texas.
It is. It is. We had a little hail here in Dallas-Fort Worth a day or so ago. Yeah. So that's always, I know the insurance companies love to hear that, right? But it's really pretty outside now, so we're all good.
Very good.
Spring has sprung, and we feel like the industry has sprung. We're pretty fired up about what we're seeing happening in the market, and I think our guest today will give us a reflection of what it's like to reinvent yourself in that area.
For sure, right? It's going to be great. So, Eddie, so let's talk about the news here for just a second. And so you and I on the monthly update last week, we talked a little bit about rates and where they were and so on. And I found this article actually this morning in CNET, and it says basically 2% rates are never coming back. How homeowners can adjust to the new normal. And what we talked about last week, Eddie, was the new normal, right? The new normal is actually normal.
Yeah.
And so
Joe and Eddie aren't saying never, right?
No.
They're saying never. We're not saying never. We're saying that it doesn't seem to be in the forecast, right, Joe?
Well, that's exactly right. And and what they say is it would take a major economic crisis for mortgage rates to fall that low again. And, so why did they fall, Eddie? It was, we had a pandemic.
Yeah, it was clearly, to stimulate the market, and it did. It overstimulated the market probably.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when they came in with raising rates to fight inflation. We all know the story. And so, yeah, it's kind of more of the same. We are as we said in our last market update, they were predicting that mortgage rates were headed for pretty good drops to the end of the year. And now they're kind of adjusting those numbers because it doesn't look like we're going to see the rate drops. What we have said is this: the mortgage rate situation, and because of all of those variables that have affected mortgage lenders, the note inventory that is happening is going to happen whether rates are 4.5% or 8.5%.
Doesn't matter.
That inventory is hitting the market. It's already in motion. And so we're gonna progress on and say that we're trying to give you market information, but there's not a lot that we see that's going to change the opportunity that's in front of us, because as we said, the inventory is already here. They've already made the decision that that inventory is going to get moved. That's both from the seller finance world, and that's both and as well from the discount note world of institutional paper, scratch and dent, we call it, or non-performing loans. So,
we finished the fourth quarter of last year with so much momentum, have carried it into the first quarter of this year. big things happening at Note School, and we see a bright future as well. So
it's 100%. It's market timing, and now is our timing.
All about
That's what it is.
Eddie, I am going to drop off here, and you bring on our guest, and I'll be here in the back, and we'll see you at the end of the show.
All right. Thank you very much. I am very excited to introduce our guest today. I think she represents changes that a lot of people would see themselves wanting to make. And she's been an action taker, and she's made those changes, and she's produced for herself an excellent opportunity to reposition her retirement and her legacy strategies. So you guys welcome Miss Korin Binder.
Hi.
Good morning. How are you?
Good. How are you?
We are so glad you're here.
Thank you.
I've gotten to experience a little bit of your latest journey. And that's been really exciting. And we're excited that you're here and doing what you're doing. So let's talk a little bit first, just a little bit give everybody kind of a frame of reference of your background, Corine, how you kind of got down the road that you are professionally, because I think it's interesting.
Well, I started out in the fashion industry and going to college for fashion merchandising, and through a series of events over the years, moving around the country, and through fate, I ended up here. I went from fashion to real estate, and then from real estate to really looking forward to diving into the note market.
That's awesome. Ironically, my niece, who also got her degree in fashion and went down some of those same paths, she's now running a bank. That's pretty funny,
Wow.
but it's the truth. Yeah. So, all right. So you transitioned from the fashion industry to you got into traditional real estate brokerage. Is that right?
That's right.
Okay.
There was a lot of consolidation going on in the industry and the retailers. And so the jobs were becoming obsolete in that industry. And because I had moved my whole life with my parents, it was just natural for me to be interested in homes. And I'd always worked out of my home. So it was kind of a natural transition to that.
That's great. That's excellent. And then you also invested in some property.
Yes, I decided that I needed to start doing that since that was my business. And I ended up finding out that I could not cash flow here in Texas. So I went out of Texas into another state, purchased a duplex that was going to give me about 22% return on the investment, and found out that it was just a nightmare being away from where I purchased. And the property management companies that I used were very bad. I went through 3 of them. They never got a tenant myself, but they did not do anything to help. And I found vagrants living on the front porch. Things were stolen out of the property, and waking up every morning at 3 a.m. worried. My husband said, you need to sell that place. So within 4 months, we sold it. And that's when I called an old friend of mine that was in multifamily so I could get some more passive type investment. And lo and behold, it was Emily Courtwright, and she had moved some of her passive or her apartment or multifamily investments into notes. And I didn't even know notes was a thing.
Yeah.
So, and it just so happened the next weekend was the 3-day event. So I was able to go to that.
Corine, I want to say that, first of all, we appreciate your transparency. All of us have made bad deals about something, right? So I think you're encouraging people. But a lot of people have had rental properties that didn't work out the way they thought. The thing I would say to you is you didn't give up on investing. You just altered what you invested in.
Yes.
Right. And multifamily has had a really good run. Now not so much, but it has had a really good run. So it's been really good to people. The timing of notes has become a lot better at the moment than other alternative investments like rental properties or multifamily. But your transition was good. And I really appreciate the fact that, a lot of people have your story with rentals and, oh my goodness, I was going to make all this money, but I never really did. And you know, you were a burnout landlord.
Well, and it was my business, so I couldn't understand why I couldn't make it in something that was my business that I'd done for years. So it was just really, really a big hit. But I think that it was necessary for me to get where I am now.
Well, there's a lot of difference between selling high-end houses in South Lake and selling very working class areas in you know, Birmingham, right?
Yes.
But quite a different asset class. Okay. So I wanted to, so Emily and Adam have been on this show. So some of our listeners know them. They have a wonderful story. They now have built up a monthly cash flow from their notes of over $10,000 a month. Last count I heard, and I heard them speak at a group not long ago. So I think that's accurate. And now they're building long-term wealth. They're very smart, young, innovative couple. So impressive, as you well agree, right?
Yes.
And so, you know, now all of a sudden she's telling her other real estate friends about this that are in traditional real estate brokerage, right? And so then you came to a class and we got to hang out there, and that was fun, right? And so then all of a sudden, you know, people say, "What's a class?" What do you say a class is? What do you learn in a class?
Well, I mean, during that 3-day class, I just realized that there was something that I had never heard about.
Yeah.
And I was in awe the entire time because I just did not know this was a thing. And so that's how I knew that fate had brought me there. And I think that the 3-day class really dove enough in depth that I could learn what it was and not be overwhelmed.
Yeah. It shows people what's possible.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of the intent of the class, right?
It gave me hope, definitely.
You're tired at the end of the day because there's a lot of material. We're covering a lot of material, yeah. But I'm always, Joe and I, who teach this class, right? Joe and I are always trying to not over teach it. So somebody can let the ideas absorb a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And then, you know, you mentioned something, and I know we'll talk about it here at the end about legacy. And obviously, you know, that's a big part of our story. It's a big part of NoteSchool's success stories. So, all right, so you come to the class, and then you become a long-term NoteSchool member. And then the next step is, okay, are you implementing? Are you doing it, right? And so you bought your first note, and it wasn't a giant note, was it?
No, I spent a lot of time transferring my IRA account into Quest Trust so I could buy notes. That took a little while. And then, yes, a note that was just perfect for me and the amount I had came available. And I'm so excited actually closing on the note today.
Excellent. Good for you. Okay, so you guys, if you'll show that picture, we just got a little quick picture of the property. This is the property securing the note. So this is Harvey, Illinois, which is in the Chicago area, right? Nice house, nice little neighborhood. You know, this is where working class people live, right? You bought this note for $30,700. These people's mortgage payment is $391 a month. On this house, their principal and interest mortgage payment is less than $400 a month. I bet you if they were renting it, their rent would be $1,600. Right? So you bought a note that was already in existence, right?
Yes.
Over time, you're going to collect back almost $75,000. I calculate 191 months times 391 a month is $74,681 for a $30,700 investment. And you're the lender, not the landlord.
Yes, and I got a discount on that too.
You did. You bought the note at a discount.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's, you know, and we facilitate that. One of the things that we do with our sister company is we help students find assets because they're busy realtors or they're dentists or they're things. And so we have things called Done For You that we go find assets for them and stuff. So All right, great picture there. Let's move on. And congratulations, by the way, you're funding today.
Yes.
Well, good for you.
Thank you.
We're excited to see that. This is a story that we get to tell often around Note School, and we're pretty pumped up about it. And I want to talk a little bit about, let's go back. Let's go back a little bit in life. All of us have had challenges. All of us have done things that we wish we would have done better. The thing about faith, not fate, faith, the things about those areas of our life allow us to say that just because we've done things perfect doesn't mean we can't get a restart. And I so appreciate the fact that you show me over and over that you're a tenacious person. You're just because you make a mistake, you don't give up. And just because, you're saying I'm a little bit behind, because I'll tell you this, Martha and I are now in our 60s, but truth of the matter is Martha and I were really good at the note business, but we weren't great at growing our retirement until we turned, in our late 40s or maybe 50 years old. So, the good news is, and it's turned out okay, right? And so, there's always a good chance to do it. Let's talk about some of your challenges looking back, and then let's talk about looking forward, what you're planning to do about it.
Yeah, so I have made some really good money and did not do what I should have done with that money to get ready for retirement. But part of that was buying the duplex. I wanted to get a head start, and I'm a doer. If something needs to be done and I have a plan, I'm going to do it. And so that was my first attempt to get on board with getting my retirement set. And of course, that was a setback, but I feel like it brought me here, and now I can move forward and get this done. So I've also got a huge database of people that I know, and a lot of investors that I would like to share this with. So that's partly how I'm going to fund moving forward and buying more notes.
Yeah. So one of the things that you learn at a 3-day class and beyond is you learn a technique, a leveraging technique, right? Where you can use passive investors' money and go sell payments on a note, but not sell the entire note. So you sell the front end of the note and you keep a residual income on the back side of the note. And it's pretty cool because you really can go build some incredible volume with that, because you're really using another investor's money to fund the lion's share of the investment of the note, right? And that's pretty exciting. And by the way, they're better off doing that than a lot of other things they could be investing in today. So it's a win-win for everybody.
Yes.
They're not going to go through all the things that you do to go find the notes and learn all the strategies. And that's really cool. And when I read, you did us a little write-up, and I read that, I thought, now you're utilizing your resources, right? Because you're a realtor, you have clients, they love you. I know they do. They believe in you. And now all of a sudden you're bringing them another opportunity. And now you're using how you can go build legacy with, utilizing their money. And some people aren't realtors, they don't have clients, but we've gotten pretty good at like asking people the right questions to go source into what their let's say that their genius opportunity is, or their genius zone. And so you've been great as a realtor. And here's the thing about it, whether you're not wanting to work as hard at that, or you're wanting to work harder at that than you've ever worked, we don't care, right? You can have a super busy day job, and we'll kind of give you the training in what we call the ESPN version. Or you can go do the training with us and like really hang out and, go to all the in-depth stuff that we have available. So you get to pick, Corine. I would say to you that one of the things that I saw in your write-up, and I want you to talk about this a little bit, is this is a lot more fun than you thought.
Yes, it is. I'm really excited because it's just so, I guess, freeing to me to not have to worry about tenants and all the stuff that happens with a house, because I've seen all of that. And I know that things can definitely go awry with notes as well. But I feel like there's a backup of people that are so experienced that it's just less of a risk.
Yeah,
And so it is fun. And I'm really wanting to venture out and do non-performing at some point in time.
Yeah.
Because I feel like I feel like it's almost like, I don't know, I'm not a gambler, but it's almost like going out and gambling, but a little bit less risk.
Well, there's calculated risk.
Yes.
And there's risk that people take that isn't calculated. We try to help people with clarity of a calculated risk, right? And so it's not like you're just poking your money out and you're like, oh my God, I could just lose everything. It's not that.
Not at all. Yeah.
And so and one of the things that is you well know, we figured out that we can put a lot more people in the business if we can help them with some back office things that are kind of, they don't want to spend the time or they don't have the confidence yet. So if we can help them with some of those things, we figured out we can help do it. So we've got the training side, and then we've got the business side, the actual buying and selling of note business and stuff. And so we're glad to see you do that. I wanted to talk to you. You have another resource that I know we have discussed in the past, or at least I've discussed it with the team in the past about it. And that is, you have a unique connection with a lot of female appraisers. Tell us about that.
Well, I'm a licensed appraiser here in Texas. So there's a group of women appraisers on Facebook, and we bounce things off of each other a lot. And so I put out there, it's really slow. The business has slowed down a lot because the interest rates went up. So there's not a lot of refinancing going on. So they're kind of, suffering from a loss of business.
They are.
And there's a lot of disruption in that industry as well. So they're kind of trying to think about what they're going to do. So through the Facebook group, I was able to secure, I think, about 5 different Friday Zoom calls where I think I covered about 60 people in those Zoom calls. And I have their emails, and they want to be notified whenever there's notes available, and also just trying to get them like a newsletter type thing at least once a month. So I have that resource as well. Yes.
You might could share with them that you were on NoteSchool TV and give them that link, and they get to see now that you're a real live celebrity, right?
Right.
No, that is so good. And I would say that I want to talk a little bit about something that you mentioned before we had the interview, right? And that was, most everything about the market drives us to timing, right? And one of the things that we try to paint a pretty good picture by the time you get to a 3-day class is why our timing is so critical. And you're seeing that, right? The brokerage business is not on the rise at the moment, right? And because there's not as many deals getting moved, right? So there's a low inventory. There's a lot of people wanting houses. There's just not as many for sale. We don't want to take anybody out of their industry, but when they look at wealth investing, don't you agree that timing is more important than just doing everything perfect?
Yes, absolutely.
I think that's the thing. We are in what you've heard me refer to this as a note cycle. There's rental cycles, and then there's note cycles, meaning that it's more profitable to own notes in certain market conditions, and meaning that certain conditions, let's be honest, if you'd have bought rental properties in 2014 and they went up crazy over, the next 10 years, 12 years, then buying rentals seemed like the smartest thing in the world if you could manage the investment, which a lot of people struggle with, right? It's just a tolerance thing. I'm not a good landlord either, by the way. I've tried it, and I found out I like owning notes. I like owning somebody's mortgage way better than owning their rent house that they live in.
I have a lot of investors that are selling their rent houses now.
They are. And there's a lot of investors selling rent houses and even owner financing them because they can net a lot more income owner financing it than they can the money they net from their rental, right?
And they're not able to 1031 exchange them because the prices have gone up so much that they're kind of trapped in these investments. And if they owner finance, then it helps their taxes to be lower.
There's some pretty good tax hacks with offering owner financing on your rentals that we've talked about a lot, right? Okay, let's talk about the most important thing, right? We've talked about your journey. We've talked about, from fashion to real estate brokerage to some real estate investing to now transitioning to notes. But let's talk about the most important thing, which is retirement, family, and legacy.
Yes.
Because that's what I bet a lot of people would like to hear us address before we leave.
Yeah. So I have grandchildren and I want to be able to pass something off to them as well, and my kids. So that is really, really important to me, to also demonstrate how when I retire, I can take care of everything with what I've done and just show them as an example of what, how to get in position to retire.
Well, I'll bet you, Corine, if your story is anything like many that I've seen in the past, your husband becomes a lot more interested in this. Your kids become a lot more interested in this when you start mapping out for them how you're using note investing strategies to build long-term wealth and retirement, and even using leveraging techniques. Because I know in my family, they otherwise may not have been that interested in it, but when it started affecting them, it started mattering.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So we're excited for you. We're excited for the journey that you're on. I'm excited for a lot of your real estate friends out there, because I think that, as you said, you didn't even know about this.
I didn't. It was such a shock to me and so exciting to hear about it. I was just energized when I came out of that 3-day class.
Well, it was fun having you. It's very fun to see this path, and I'm excited that just keep telling the story. I bet you have an influence. I guarantee you on this interview today, you have influence with people that they have a different story, but they don't have a different story, right? They've gone down a little different path, but they're looking for, oh, wait a minute. She's talking about, she didn't even know about doing this a year ago. And now all of a sudden she now owns a note that more than doubles her investments, almost 2.5 times really what you paid, you get back in payments, and you don't have aggravation with it. And that sounds pretty good, right?
It does. It's great.
And you've been in real estate since 2006, yet just because you're in real estate doesn't mean that you know every dimension of real estate and real estate finance, right? So there's always a new opportunity to learn, and I'm so glad that our paths have crossed.
Me too.
And I'm excited once again about just seeing you. We'll have you back on when you have 10 notes. How about that?
That sounds good.
And that won't be long.
I don't think so.
All right. Joe, come close us out, my friend.
All right. Well, great story. I didn't realize today was the closing. I was thinking it would closed a week or 10 days ago, but congratulations.
Thank you.
It's like you guys have been talking about. It's you go to a class, you learn, you come out, and it makes all the difference in the world. And it's just taking the next step. And, we've all got to reinvent ourselves many times over life. So thanks so much. And probably see you here not too long at Summer Summit, I would say. So we'll see you then. And guys, just another guest today. Corinne's story is not unlike so many more. And, Eddie and I have been doing Note School TV since, we've been doing it 2.5 years. And so we've got story after story, but we'd love to have you get involved with us as well. Just go to noteschool.com/TV to find out more about what we do at Note School. We will see you guys same time next week when 11:05 Central Time on Wednesday. Take care.